You might be wondering, who's this 16-year-old guy and why does he want to tell us anything about millionaires and making money? Well, I've done lots of coachings, I've read lots of books, and I've done a lot of research, and I've hung out in those kind of areas, I've talked with those kind of people, and I now want to tell you some of the best lessons that I have learned from millionaires that are really, really life-changing, that made my life into a work of art and made me make more money and just overall live a way, way better and healthier life. Ever since I was a kid, I have always been inspired by rich people and lovely areas and the way that things just work. I've always been someone who loves the upper class and has been very attracted to those kind of things, which is why it's kind of been all throughout the years something that I wanted to aspire to, something I wanted to be. Like, I remember being a 13-year-old listening to Lana Del Rey, imagining him on a beautiful boat in Lake Como, enjoying my aesthetic lifestyle, which is why being rich, not just in the material sense but in the spiritual sense, has always been a goal of mine, and I wanted to have a happy life full of personal development and love. Which is why I want to be sharing the 5 best and most important lessons I've learned from millionaires all throughout the years, from all the coachings I've done, from all the books that I've read, from all the podcasts I've listened to, and from all the people that I have met. So not to be the bearer of bad news, but these are actually really, really good news if you know how to actually handle them. But you need to live below your means. Most people usually fall under one of these 2 categories. They either are frugalists who try to save every single penny and not spend it on anything and be like, oh, I'm gonna be rich or something, and if I don't spend the money right now, it's gonna make me way more wealthier or something. Well, let me tell you one thing. No one has ever become wealthy by just simply not spending money, by being a frugalist and actually not wanting to spend anything. And that is totally not the right way to live, because you're never going to be happy and your money is never going to actually be in a flow state. And what's the point of making money if you're afraid to spend it? Then there's the second category of people who overspend their money. They spend more money than they actually earn. They get themselves all the new things that they actually can't actually afford. So they go to Sephora every weekend, or some influencers like, oh, you need this new product. Don't walk to H&M but run. And then they see these kind of things and they're like, oh, I need to spend this. And then they go shopping again and they buy all these things that they actually can't even afford. And it's essentially just a big hole of consumption. It's just some kind of hedonistic overspending that makes you poor and signals to the universe that you don't know how to handle money. Now, what you actually should be doing is something in between in a heightened sense. This is what I meant by living below your means. If you live below your means, you don't spend the money that you don't have. You need to spend your money wisely and also invest it wisely. So it means that after covering the normal things that are like living and having food and all these kind of things, you have a certain surplus there that you have to invest. You need to invest more money than you spend. By investing your money, not just in stocks, but actually in things that are good for you and give you a return on investment, so to say, you are doing something good for you, because an investment is anything that will then return and give you more than you actually put in there. Because wealth is essentially not just about income, but it's about building a solid foundation of your life. And if there's one big lesson I've learned from this, is that if you show the universe that you're able to spend your money wisely and you know how to actually use it, it's then going to show you new opportunities to make more money, and it's going to give you way more money in your life and literally bless you beyond your means. And of course, you might be thinking, how am I supposed to afford all of these lovely, lavish and fancy things that I love if I have to live below my means? Well, you do this by simply making your means bigger, by simply earning more money. There's that one example I saw in a book called The Millionaire Fast Lane, and what he talked about essentially is that with a person who makes $100,000 a month, and then there's a person who makes $10,000 a month, the person who has $100,000 a month and they both live below their means, that person of course is going to have bigger means and they can afford more things below their means. So essentially, if you make more money, your means that are below your means are going to be more. So don't spend recklessly in hopes of getting more money out of the blue, but also do not actually starve yourself financially. And this leads me directly to my next point. Millionaires use $10 the same way that they would use a $10,000. And it doesn't really matter what kind of money you make, but there's a certain way of using percentages and knowing how to handle it that is going to make it way, way better for you. So how does this work? I once heard an example of a very wise woman. She essentially was talking about if someone found $10 on the streets, what would they do with it? They would probably just pick it up and, not really care about it and then spend it somewhere. If they found $100, they would probably actually go somewhere and put it on their bank account. But if they found someone just $1, they wouldn't really care. They would maybe just pick it up and then also spend it somewhere. And if they saw 1 cent, they would absolutely not care about it. And you need to be able to know that 1 cent, it needs to be spent the same way that $10,000 need to be spent. And that's by using good percentages and getting someone professional who shows you how to actually do these things. So you could open a blank page somewhere and actually get a certain money system that makes sense for you. So it could be 30% for the fixed costs. It then could be 40% for the investments. It could be 10% for donating things. It could be 10% for just consumption. Essentially, what you've got to do is really know, how do I actually spend my money and what are the healthy percentages that should be there so I do not overspend, but I also do not live a frugal lifestyle. And this rule would apply if you earn just $1,000 a month, but it would also apply if you earn $1 million a month. Now let's get away from this whole idea of spending money and how to deal with it, but actually talk about something that is way, way deeper and even more important. This is actually about really making money and doing something in the world. You know, most people, when they think about making a business or creating content on social media like I do, or doing something, they want to do this because they want to make money. They're like, oh, I need some money. I want to do something. It's really cool. I've got to make millions of dollars and all these kind of things. But do you actually realize that in order to make $1 million, you first of all need to actually give something that is worth $1 million? If you expect someone to give you their money, to give you their attention, to give you their views, you need to know that there has to be a certain energetical exchange there. A healthy energetical exchange could be something like this. Imagine someone standing on a stage and then they talk about something and people actually really get touched emotionally and they start crying and they love what that person is saying, and then they get the value from what that person is saying. Now the person on stage gets their own value by the audience. They get this by getting their energy through the attention, but also getting their money if they pay to actually be there. We all know that money is just energy, and by getting that energy, you are getting the energy that you give to someone else. There's just one famous quote that goes, if you want to consume richly, you need to produce richly first. And this is so, so important. So essentially, you've got to get away from the selfish idea of wanting to do something just to make money, but you should go to that point where you know that you should do something in this world to actually create something, to help people and to leave a big impact. You need to impact thousands and millions of people if you want to make millions of dollars. If you want to have millions of views and thousands of followers, you also need to say something and do something that will then give you millions of views and thousands of followers. It's that simple. You can never expect something in return if you don't give something. So if you get an occupation and you create content and you create a business that essentially is all about the things that you love and that you would even talk about for free for some time, that's when the success is actually going to get in, and that's where the money is actually going to flow. People are going to love you. People are going to write you lovely comments, and you're just going to feel very fulfilled because you know that you left an impact in the world and people love what you're doing, and it really changes their life. Next thing is that in order to be successful, you need to trigger people. I know a lot of us, we're afraid to speaking our truth. We're afraid to talking about something on social media or creating our business or doing anything that we know would make us happy and create a lovely life for ourselves. We're oftentimes afraid because we think that people will judge and people will think that it's bad and our family is going to think this is shitty and we're going to get hate comments online. But what if I told you that you could only get successful anyway if you trigger people? Triggering people is a good sign, whether you trigger them in a positive light or in a negative light. There is always going to be people that will be triggered. Take me as an example. Besides my English TikTok account, I also have a German TikTok account that went even more viral than the English one. And essentially what happened there was I talked about some very controversial topics because I knew that the world really needed to hear this and I wanted to leave an impact and share my message out there. And a lot of people got very, very mad. And this actually was an amazing thing because there is always people that get mad. Whatever you say, there will always be people who hate what you're saying. But on the other side, out of that 1% that gets mad, there's going to be the 99% that are going to love what you're saying. They're going to resonate with your content. They're going to resonate with your business and whatever you're trying to imply. And you can only make money and you can only interact with other people if they get triggered by you. So you've got to say something, you've got to do something that will be like, oh my goodness, what is actually going on? This is so interesting. It needs to trigger a certain reaction with them. It could be positive, it could be negative. Success is all about triggering people. Because remember, if you're not triggering anyone with what you're doing, you're definitely doing something wrong. Which is also why I love talking about controversial topics and topics that are a little heated and on fire, so to say, because that is what actually makes people be interested in them, and that is something that is just so fucking cool, because why would you talk about something boring? Last and probably most important thing for all of the things I just mentioned to work is that you need to be healthy for this to work out. The quote I used for this topic is one that's very famous. It's health is wealth, and that could not be more true. There's a reason why these words are so similar. Health equals wealth. If you know how to be healthy, you're gonna know how to be wealthy. Think of it this way. If you know how to properly take care of your body, if you know how to properly eat well, if you know how to properly work out and do all of these things and also stay disciplined and do it in a lovely way, you're also gonna put that in all other aspects of your life, and that includes your way of making money and creating a business and creating content and whatever you're doing. Another reason why health is so important when creating wealth is that if you have the metabolic energy and you're actually healthy and you love your body and you care about what you put inside of it, you're also just gonna have the actual energy and capacity to put that into your business. If you've ever hung around upper class people who are successful, who love their life and have a good sense of personal development, then you're gonna see that they usually aren't fat people. They usually are not people who don't care about what they're putting in their body. Of course, there are some exceptions and there are other groups of people, but in the general way, those people always care about what they put in their body. And if you care about what you put in your body, if you care about how you look, if you care about how you take care of yourself, you're gonna really have the energy to put that into your business. Being healthy is so important. Like if there was an 80-year-old billionaire who has cancer and is unhappy with his life, the first thing that you would ask him is, what would you actually want in your life? And then he would literally say, I would want my health in my youth back. So enjoy your health in your youth. Being healthy is so important. There's even something I've heard that went like, if you don't pay for your health now, you're gonna pay for it later with medical bills, and they're way more expensive than organic groceries are. What I'm trying to say with this is that how do you actually want to enjoy the wealth that you're trying to create through this journey that you're on if you're not healthy? You need to be healthy to actually be able to travel and enjoy the wealth. You need to be healthy to actually enjoy the lovely things you can buy with your money, to actually be good and have lovely things in your life, and therefore the energy to further pursue your goals and further do the things that you just want to do, because you know that it is something that is deep within your soul and it is something that you need to leave an impact on. And those were just a couple of reasons why it's so important to be healthy if you actually want to be wealthy. I even made an entire video about health and wellness and how that actually correlates to luxury and living a beautiful lifestyle in that sense. Make sure to check it out. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made. So all of this to say, these tips that I've just given you, they're very valuable, and you need to really journal on them and think about what they mean to you. They might mean something different to everybody, and do not just take my advice for literal. You have to really think about everything that I said. Also read your own books, do your own coachings, and really go on your own journey. Remember, wealth is a journey. Wealth is not something that happens overnight magically. It is something that happens all throughout the years, and you really need to lead with love and compassion, because then you're actually going to touch people and you're gonna be like, oh, I love what I'm doing, and people are also gonna love what you're doing, therefore, because they just reflect what you have on the inside. Speaking of courses and coachings, let me know if you would be interested in me actually making a course, making a coaching. It wouldn't be that pricey or anything. I would just love to share my message on an even deeper level and impact way more people on here. Let me know in the comments if you love that. Check out my Instagram, check out my TikTok, and all these other socials of mine. They're very aesthetic, and thank you so much for watching. I love you all so much. I'm very grateful. Goodbye.